I am here once again. To be fair, only a few minutes late this week, so that's pretty good. We're doing pretty good this week, I'd say.
I tried
Infu's
my
actually
best.
here. Hi, Infu.
Hello, I am. It's fantastic.
I'm gonna be honest. I did not expect you to make it at the beginning of the show. I did not think you'd be a part of this intro. I'm very proud that you were able to get those measurements done for a puppet in time.
Yeah, I was not expecting to have to make a puppet either. It just kind of come out of nowhere.
Gonna be honest. Not sure why you'd be expecting to make a puppet. And we are also brought to you with a special guest for episode 90, which didn't really process with me, but it is episode 90. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Natalie. You can call me Nat. My Twitch handle is natastrophee.
How did you come up with the name natastrophee?
That's a funny story. Actually, someone that I used to be friends with that I'm not friends with anymore used to call me Natastrophee, and so the name stuck, but the friend didn't. So.
I mean, is this because you cause catastrophes where you go, or
I don't think so.
you just go places and things happen and it's just like, okay. It's
I
the
kind of
way
just
it
roll
goes.
with it.
I mean, it's the best thing to do. You just gotta roll with the punches.
Exactly.
So what would you say you do on Twitch?
So I'm primarily a Legend of Zelda series streamer. Right now I'm working my way through the entire series by chronological release date. Sometimes I host Unsolved Mysteries watch parties in my Discord. We like to do some true crime discussions. And sometimes I play League on stream, but that's pretty much it.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, I actually watched you play League, and I asked the question because everyone I know, and Info has said this plenty of times, that League has to be the most toxic game online.
League is pretty bad.
It's always amazing to me that people still play it, even if they think it's just a very toxic game.
Well, you'll often hear the meme of like, oh, it's the worst game ever, and it's also my favorite game. But I hate it. But don't play it. But play it.
But play it, don't play it, you never quite know. That's very...
Does Infu play League?
I used to once upon a
Okay.
time, and I don't know how long ago that was, but yeah, I used to play it with some of my friends, and that's how we come to the conclusion that it was the worst thing in existence community-wise. The game itself is okay, but like the people who play it are shitheads.
Exactly. But that's why the best advice you can get as a League player is just to mute everyone in your chat and not listen to them.
hmm Or find a group of 5 to play with, or well, I guess 4 others, including yourself. 5 total. Find a nice little group to play with, and then you don't have to deal with randoms anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the most fun is when you're playing with friends.
That's true. See, for me, multiplayer games, I feel like I default to, like, if there's a voice chat, don't want to hear it. If there's a text chat, I also don't really want to see that either, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. Especially if there's a voice chat. I just don't want to participate in that ever.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm playing a game, like, if it's an MMORPG, engaging with people can make sense at times. But if I'm playing whatever random game that isn't something like Among Us, where engaging is the game, I just want no part.
I agree. 100%.
So I say that we start out with a debate topic that, to me, it's an interesting one. This person's name is just... I don't even know how to process what their name is. It's a bunch of letters and numbers. I'm not quite sure what it's actually supposed to be. I'm sure they put a lot of thought into it, and that it has an actual name. But they're S4R9I5. And they said all pizza tastes the same. They'd gone to Italy recently and tried some pizza there. After trying it, it made them realize that all pizza tastes the same. They've had a lot of pizza, and they've realized no one pizza was exceptionally amazing to me. They all just taste like pizza. So I'm I'm confused by this person immediately. Like, how? How? How have we come to this conclusion?
Their taste buds must be dead because I don't know how you could come to the conclusion that all pizzas taste the same. When inherently you can use different ingredients that all taste differently as well.
Their edit kind of clarifies what they're trying to say, and they said, it seems some people aren't understanding what you're saying. Wait, most of this conspiracy says you have to wait for the pizza to cool before eating it. I say, obviously you don't eat it when it's super hot, but you still want to eat it when it's warm, so kinda, yeah.
I mean, you don't want it to burn your tongue, obviously, but you don't want it to be cold either.
Yeah.
There's a sweet spot, as there is with all hot foods.
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay, so besides like different toppings, like the same pizza just won't taste the same wherever you go. Like, that's just nonsense to me. How do you even come to this conclusion? I genuinely don't understand.
Just blow on it and consume. That's exactly what I do with my pizza.
Yes.
And any hot food, you just blow on it a little bit and get it a little bit cooler, and then bam, you're good.
Yeah, thin crust, deep dish, the squish, the crunch. Exactly.
Guild taste buds is the only thing you can come up with for an explanation of this person.
That's what I'm saying. Like, either like you eat a lot of spicy food and your nerves are dead, just dead, or like you can't taste anything. Like, I don't know.
Their edit was that they're not saying all pizzas with different toppings taste the same. They're just saying that if you get a bacon pizza at Domino's and a bacon pizza at an authentic Italian place, it would be the same, which even then, I still fundamentally disagree with that.
Yeah, this person objectively has no taste.
Clearly, yeah. If you get like a fancy pizza versus like Domino's pizza, which no disrespect, Domino's, if I get pizza, most of the time it's gonna be from Domino's. No disrespect, Domino's. I enjoy your pizzas, but
I'm mad.
You know.
Actually, no, literally same. Like, I so much agree with the chat right now. But also, I think maybe this might be a case of this person has not eaten enough pizzas in their life. Like, for example, like there are obviously people who are super into wine and wine tasting, and they think that every wine tastes super, super different, and they can taste like all the little hints and stuff in it. But like, I personally hate wine and I don't drink wine. And if you gave me like a $5 bottle of wine versus like a $500 bottle of wine, I wouldn't be able to taste the difference. I'd be like, this both tastes like wine. It's gross. I don't want it. So it's like, if you haven't had enough pizza, your taste buds don't know. You haven't learned. to decipher
exactly.
The pizza flavors. Exactly.
And to go into what you're saying, someone asked in the comments, have you tried frozen pizza? And they said no, they've never had frozen pizza. I don't think this person has had that variety that we're talking about here.
Agreed.
They need to have some good pizza, some bad pizza. They talked about Italy. Is Italy really the place for high quality pizza?
I mean, yes and no, not really. I mean, Italians have those like home recipes, sure, but unless it's like passed down through the generations, family pizza, not really. You can make a pizza like what they make at your home.
And I mean, I know in the United States, like, I know New York praises their pizza a lot. Okay, are you gonna say New York pizza and Italy pizza are the same?
Depends on the. See, I half agree with this person. I
Ooh.
halfway agree with them because if you use the same ingredients, as long as the ingredients are fresh, you can make a pizza at your house that tastes just like any other pizza out there that you make. Like you can make the same kind of pizza as long as the ingredients are the same. Like if you use the same freshness and the same measurements that someone else uses, then your pizza is going to come out tasting pretty much the exact same as long as you do it. Like if like food is carbon copies.
Mm-hmm.
If you do something to your food and then you do it again the exact same time, same measurements and everything, every single time you'll get the exact same effect. And as such, pizza is no exception to this. Same topping amount, same baking temperature, same time, same everything. Then yeah, your pizzas are going to come out tasting the exact same every single time. And so I mean, yeah, realistically, any pizza anywhere in the world that you go to, as long as you get a pizza and they use the like same ingredient types and stuff like that as somewhere else, then yeah, it would all taste the same. But there's definitely a difference between going to your fucking Walmart or some shit like that and getting a pizza out the freezer section, taking it home, and like, needing out the dough and fresh toppings and all that other shit. Like there's a clear cut difference.
I also think that for your scenario to work, it's saying that every pizza place in the world is replicating the same thing, and that I feel like that is factually incorrect.
Oh, it 100% is. But I mean, okay, so with like food, you can have like an offset of ingredients. Like if I order a pepperoni pizza from like Domino's, then I get one from Pizza Hut, and then I get one from Papa John's, and I make one at home, and then I go somewhere else and get one. Generally speaking, every single one of those pepperoni pizzas are going to taste about the exact same. Some will have a little bit more pepperoni, some will have a little bit less, but at the end of the day, it's still pepperoni pizza, and it's still going to taste like one. And same thing with like any other pizza you order with those ingredients. Like you can get the toppings put on there, sure. And if you order that same pizza from other places with those exact same toppings, you're going to get about the same one regardless.
That's fair.
That's just kind of how food works.
I feel like I could argue that not all ingredients are created equally, even if they're exactly the same and come from the exact same spot. Like, for example, you could eat a blueberry that's really freaking sweet and awesome and juicy, and then like a blueberry from the exact same bush that's super sour. So,
Well, yeah, but I mean, if that's the case, like a lot of times you can usually tell with the ingredients that you're working with when you cut into them and stuff like that. Because let's be real, you're not going to go and get like mushrooms, for instance, and you're not going to like go get a mushroom and just throw the whole ass mushroom on your pizza. And olives, you're not going to throw a whole olive on. You cut up your ingredients first, and you can usually tell when you're cutting into stuff. A lot of times, like the flavor it's going to have, and a lot of times people even taste their ingredients to make sure it's not sour or whatever. So like, I mean, you could generally get the same type of like flavoring for your pizza that way too, because I know that a lot of times when I'm cooking with like onions and stuff in my kitchen, tomatoes, potatoes, and stuff like that. Maybe not potatoes necessarily, but like carrots and other things that I cook in stir fries and stuff like that. When I chop them up, I will taste usually I'll taste it before I put it in there to make sure it actually has like good flavor and stuff like that. So I'm not just throwing something that might taste bad in my food. And I imagine pizza would be no exception to that for people cooking.
I have to agree with the chat on this one that the sauce is a really big player
The
in pizza
sauce, it's just
specifically.
tomato sauce, essentially.
It's not just tomato sauce. Like exactly what Renter Jack said, that some can be sweet, some more spicy. Like the sauce itself is so variable.
But you can make your sauce at home how you want it though. And like a lot of these pizza places use like a carbon, like they use a base pizza sauce for their pizzas. And so like I, yeah, I mean if you're making it at home, sure, your sauce is going to be different than somewhere else if you modify it to be different. But at the end of the day, it's still going to come back to that pizza sauce is still pizza sauce unless you do something to it. Generally speaking, pizza sauces that you get to put on your pizza are all going to be about the same because they're made generally with the same ingredients. You have to modify them to get that different flavor out of them.
This is what I love out of the debate topics right here. This is exactly what I want to see. I just want to see an actual debate. Not. It's beautiful. Because, and Fu, I strongly disagree with you, but.
Hey, that's fine. You're welcome to. I've made plenty enough pizzas in my lifetime to know how this shit works, though. Like, I've made shit tons of pizza here at my house. And every single time I've made one, they have all come out tasting about the same because I don't go modifying my shit. And so they all come out about the same. And I couldn't imagine that's a coincidence because I don't go messing with the stuff. Like I could modify the sauce, I could modify the toppings I put on there, and so on and so forth. I could do that. And sure, it would taste absolutely different when I pull it out. But if I put a pizza in that I've made myself with the toppings on there and I pull it out, it's going to taste the exact same every time, just about. There's going to be minor outlying factors depending on how long I cook it and stuff like that, sure. But the general taste of the pizza is always going to be around the same marking.
That's interesting. Fox wants to know what each of us gets as our favorite pizza.
Mine's just a plain cheese usually.
That's fair. I
Like,
generally get like mushroom, pepperoni, of course. Gotta have good cheese on it. Sausage, and that's my like basic, you know.
I usually like to have when I do up my pizzas. I usually like to have an applewood smoked bacon with barbecue chicken, extra cheese pizza.
Apparently, Fox is not like your cheese pizza answer.
well, it's cheese melted on sauce, melted on bread.
True. This is true. Do you like breadsticks?
Who doesn't like breadsticks?
This is true.
Isn't the whole appeal of like American restaurants is that they're unlimited?
They all should be. That is for sure. They all very well should be.
Yo, the real thing here that everybody is forgetting is that pizza is just cheese breadsticks with extra steps.
Exactly.
Fundamentally, then, all pizzas taste the same because it all starts the same. Just
No. Nope.
Yeah, no, they don't all taste the same. I'll give it that, but
Oh, so you don't even agree with this person, although you went on your whole thing that
I
kind
said
of sided with them.
I partially agree with this person. I agree that if you make a pizza the same way, it'll come out tasting the same. I don't agree that if you go out and get like a fucking barbecue chicken pizza and then you get like a pepperoni pizza, the shit's gonna taste the same.
I feel like the question isn't more so do you agree with this person or do you disagree with this person? It's more so what's wrong with this person.
That's where we generally go. Is like how much of a psychopath are these people?
Yeah.
I have my head cutting axe right here.
Oh, you got to keep posting it in the chat. It's great. It's a great axe.
It is. It's a fantastic axe. I will post a picture of said axe.
Because generally, one of these people gets their head chopped off. It just goes too far sometimes.
I do not like pineapple on pizza.
I've never
personally.
had pineapple on pizza.
I don't like pineapple on pizza either.
I definitely think it's worth trying, but I wouldn't do it again.
I feel like when I think of what like the worst pizza, I'd be like, oh, if you put lettuce and ranch on a pizza, that to me just does not sound good at all.
I don't understand people who like ranch with their pizza. I don't like ranch in general.
Like, if the occasional time I eat like a pizza roll, I'll add like sour cream, but not ranch.
That's a little bit more acceptable.
But when I eat pizza rolls, I accept that this is an unhealthy meal I'm having, and I go all out on an unhealthy meal, and I add shredded cheese as well. So, very
Ranch on
excessive.
pizza hurts me.
I will eat ranch with pizza, but my preference is jalapeno cheese sauce.
I don't think I like ranch at all, really.
Yo, I like to dip chicken tenders and nuggets in ranch. That slaps. But like that's about the only thing ranch is really good for. It is okay on pizza or with pizza though. Like if you ain't got nothing else, I guess.
Interesting. So, when it comes to the overall point of this post, all pizza tastes the same. We all disagree with that. So, they are a winner. They do have an unpopular opinion. So, they are a winner. And speaking of food-related debates, Joma 2001 says instant noodles are better raw. They really prefer eating ramen noodles raw rather than cooking them. I don't even add spices. I just bite into the slab of uncooked noodles. It's crunchy. It tastes great. I love it. I was surprised to find out that not more people do this.
How's this person alive? I feel like that's a safety hazard in some shape or form.
Did you know you're supposed to cook food that requires you to cook them?
You know what's funny though is that where I'm from, like my home country, we have a snack and it kind of It looks like a bag of chips, but it's basically a bag of uncooked ramen, and it just comes like kind of crushed up, and like it's delicious. So I totally understand this. And I thought it
Hmm.
was weird that Americans didn't have that because America, in my mind, is like the epitome of snacking and unhealthy foods. So just the fact that anyone's even bothered by this, I just question, you know.
Where are you from?
Jordan.
Interesting.
That makes me wonder, isn't the instant noodles like, I could be entirely wrong about this just because I don't ever cook with them or whatever, but like, isn't the instant noodles, the instant ramen noodles over here in America, aren't they made with like a plastic waxing on them though?
I mean, they're definitely, I shouldn't say definitely, they're probably prepared differently if they intend for you to cook them like pasta versus if they intend you to eat them like a bag of chips.
The only reason I say this because I remember reading a thing. This was years ago, so like obviously not 100% with the facts here, but like I remember seeing a thing where like they was like people had a chance to get like I think it was like stomach cancer off of them because they had like a waxing on them, and if you ate too much of them like too often because of the wax coating they put on them, I guess to help keep them fresh or package them or whatever, then it was like messing with people's lining of their stomach, causing them to get like stomach ulcers and cancer and other things. And if that's the like if that is true, I mean obviously this was a long time ago and I even read the damn thing, but in the event that it was true, I imagine that eating them raw probably couldn't be good for you in any shape or form.
Yeah, I think it's actually it was um kind of like a myth busted thing that there was wax on ramen noodles. I don't think they actually coat them in anything specifically, but like if they did, it probably is either water soluble cuz you boil them or it's safe to eat. Because like I know that for example, shredded cheese if you buy it shredded, it's coated so that it doesn't stick back together,
Yep.
but like it's safe to eat.
I think about that every time I have shredded cheese. Once I learned it, it's always the thing I think about when I eat it. And I'm like, you know, there's probably some level of this where I probably should not eat shredded cheese because of this. But
We're doing it anyway.
we're doing it anyway. We're going down this road. We're definitely going to go down this road anyway. So, where do we lean on instant noodles or better raw? That's their thing. It's are they better raw?
I wouldn't say they're better raw, but I'd still say they're good raw.
I've never tried it. I didn't even know you could eat them uncooked, to be honest with you. I'm not a big noodle person, so I actually had absolutely no idea that you could even eat them uncooked.
Hmm.
They're a pretty good snack.
I feel like we're not super educated on instant noodles, at least two of us.
There's also like a snack they have in other foreign countries. I don't think they have this in Jordan, but it's like a very similar thing where you just fry uncooked pasta. It's basically like you just season it and fry it, or you can bake it uncooked and it just becomes crunchy like chips. It's basically like chips, but like differently sourced. Like instead of chips from potatoes, it's chips from wheat.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So Jack read somewhere once that the sticker on an apple is consumable since people can accidentally eat them. That still doesn't mean I want to eat the sticker, though. Even if that is true. I still do not want to eat that sticker.
So what level of can't see do you have to be to eat the sticker on an apple?
I don't think it's can't see. I think it's don't care and just want the apple.
Okay, well, what level do you have to reach to acquire that as well?
I mean, probably pretty casual for some people.
It's probably also to like child-proof fruit, you know, that like kids can
Now
just
that
like grab them and eat them.
I don't know if they still do or not, but I know that Switch games, they put like a thing on it that makes the Switch games taste absolutely terrible for that reason, so kids don't try and eat them when they put it in their mouth. It tastes super bad, and so they'll spit it out.
That's what they do with Tide Pods, but people still ate those.
I hated that trend. Sometimes people are the worst.
Yeah.
And that was a great example. People are just, why? You're not funny. It's not amusing.
It's kind of funny.
You're just harming yourself. But yeah, I
will
agree
say,
that it's
though, one other addition to the stickers on fruit being edible is that it's probably also for vision impaired people because
true.
I took a really long undergrad course on vision with a blind professor, and she said that the biggest thing is not being able to see what you're eating, and so you could be eating something totally like inedible.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, so I think like having to find a little sticker on a piece of fruit and having to peel it off is definitely like an extra step that we don't think about as like non-vision impaired people.
True, true.
Do you think you could feel the sticker when you're like chewing up the apple though in your mouth? Could you like feel that? I
I
wonder.
wonder.
I would think so. An apple does not have the same texture. Even the skin of the apple does not have the same texture of a sticker.
No, and wouldn't the sticker taste kind of like a paper kind of thing? Would you not get like the flavor from it, like that? Like paper has like a weird film when it's wet. So like when it goes in your mouth, you would think you would feel that. I don't know. I kind of wonder about that. I'm not going to test it, but I wonder about it.
I feel like it's more so one of those things that you just eat without noticing. And because you're not thinking about it, you're not like noticing because it's such a small thing.
I could see that as well.
That makes sense. Well, I'm not really sure how to end the instant news about a Raw. I don't think we have a decisive opinion one way or the other. So, moving on to this next person, Noor Hassan, says that they don't think anyone actually has a favorite color, and everyone's just pretending to fit in. They're colors. I just do not understand how you decide what your favorite one is. Okay, maybe you prefer dark colors, warm colors, cold colors, or one particular color on clothes or on walls or something like this. But picking one color, just the idea of a certain color devoid of any context and going, this one is better than all the rest. Not only that, but making it a feature of your personality, part of your personal identity, that to me is just insanity. If aliens came down to Earth and saw that having a favorite color was a thing, they'd just leave. In my opinion, it's just that everyone at some point in their childhood got asked, what's your favorite color? So we chose something and stuck with it and never questioned the idea of having a favorite color. And they ended it with, by the way, my favorite color is pink. I love how they concluded it with that.
Jack, easy because you have preferences. Literally, though.
Exactly.
I mean, my only sort of input on this mainly comes from my background as someone who studied a lot of psychology in college. I was like,
Ooh.
psychology was one of my majors.
Yeah.
And I did an independent study on color associations, and I don't know if favorite color is really a good word for it, but people do have very strong emotional associations with colors, and we have very strong evolutionary responses to colors as well. And so I think maybe favorite color isn't the best way to put it, and it's like maybe a little bit too vague, so maybe you do arbitrarily pick your favorite color, but the fact still remains that when you're asked a favorite color, you still end up picking one, and there's a reason for that.
What is everyone's favorite color?
Mine's pink.
Mine's blue.
I don't really have one. I think I have several that I kind of think are cool looking, but I mean, blue, purple, green. Uh, I don't know. Those are pretty. I don't think I really have like a favorite though.
Yeah, I feel like I have a top three. I feel like my top three is pink, white, and gold, and I think they all go really well together.
Think about this, info. From now on, some evil genie had to do a wish, and now everything you touch turns into one color. What color do you want that to be?
I mean, from a logical standpoint, can clear be a color? Can I make everything
No.
see through?
Actual color.
I think I like that answer. I think I'd let it go, but house rules, I don't get to decide.
I'm thinking clear should be a thing because like I could have some fun with that shit.
Oh god.
That would be fantastic. I could have so much fun with that.
Maybe not make everything disappear, but make everything like transparent. Like you know
Yeah.
it's there, but
Wow.
I could walk up to people's houses and just be like, pop, I see you.
He's a menace to society.
Go up to people and just like, I don't know, where just like touch their shirt or something like that. Poof, it's gone. Like, oh,
That's the problem with Claire being your answer.
I can do some fun shit like going down the road, just reach out the window, touch someone's car real quick, and poof, it's gone.
I agree with Jack. Clear isn't a color, it's just the ability to see through it. What you mean is colorless. We're picking an actual color. You want colorless. Which does technically go with your thought process of not having a favorite color. To be fair.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess if the genie came up to me and was like, hey, this is your one wish, I'd probably just at that point tell him to fuck off. I don't want it.
Oh no, this isn't a wish you're granting. This is someone else. Like, okay, hypothetical scenario. I find a genie in a lamp. I rub the lamp and I'm like, I want to make Enthu's life terrible. Everything he touches now goes his one favorite color.
yeah, it's not a wish, it's a curse befallen upon you.
Yes.
I mean,
But it's my wish.
I don't know that you would get your wish then because, like, I mean, would it just kind of like change color depending on the day? Because again, like, I don't have one, so like, just things kind of like, if that's the case, I could use your wish against you to some degree because then I could just like pick my favorite color to be whatever I wanted it to be at that moment. The color you would make my life really easy. Like if I need a new coat of paint on my room, like to paint my new room, think of the color, bam, just paint my room right on the spot. Oh, my car needs a paint, boom, there we go. It's good to go. My house needs painting, bam, right there you go. Painted house for free.
So what you're saying is, if I get the genie in a lamp, you want me to do this wish so you can be graced with the ability to color things whatever you want.
Not necessarily, but it would make things easier. Yes.
All right. Claire, that's your color of choice.
The best color.
No, I think you should stick with Claire. Now that I think about it more, yeah, I want to see, because it's everything you touch. There's no exceptions here, so that's going to be a problem in your life very quickly.
What if I walk outside and touch the earth itself? Like, just touch the ground. Does the whole earth become, like, clear?
Once again, into a menace to society.
Yep.
I could have fun with that. I could ruin I could ruin it. Oh.
You touch cars and make them clear, and then yeah. Complete menace.
Just see people floating all over the place where I've touched their car and it's clear.
Enthu's a bad person. I take it all back. Bad person, Enthu.
You're the one giving me the powers. It's your fault.
Clear. Okay, you say so. I did cast this curse on you, hypothetically, so it makes sense. Can't argue with it. The end to privacy, it wasn't due to a big corporation, it's just due to Enthu. Everything else didn't matter. Enthu was the problem all along.
Could you imagine, like, how much money people would have to pay a year to have their house repainted from where I just come up and touch it?
That's what I'm saying. You should capitalize it. You should, like, open a body shop for cars or something. Painting, etc.
You could be like a fast food place, except you could paint people's cars. Charge a premium, get them in, get them right out. There you go. Money, money. I agree with Nat. You just gotta capitalize.
Oh man, I could go into restaurants when people aren't looking, touch their food to make it just kind of like disappear. So then they'd have to actually find and hunt their food on their plate. Like they'd have to hunt for what they're wanting to eat because it would all just be clear and see through.
Terrible person, terrorizing everybody for no real reason. There's no reason for this. You're just having fun. You're just terrorizing. Good God. So, Kozar, our next lovely person, said the taskbar is better on the right side of the screen than the bottom. They have used this for several years and they cannot imagine going back. They find it a lot easier to get to icons that they need, like the start and show desktop, since they're both in closer corners. A lot of this comes from it seemingly being easier to move their mouse to the side of their screen compared to the bottom. Maybe also because looking at icons stacked atop each other is nicer than lengthways. Specifically on Windows 10, it gets rid of the large, ugly Cortana search bar. It's shorter, which could be seen as a downside, but I almost never fill the taskbar with icons, so I just get the benefits of less empty space. The only argument I've seen leveled against it is that it looks weird, but a lot of things look weird when you're used to something else for all of your life. So, this is actually something that I have experience with. Up until a day ago, my taskbar has been on the right side of the screen on, because I have two monitors, and I only have, I disabled the taskbar for one of them. So it's only ever one taskbar. And I put it on the right side of the one farthest one way, because that makes sense to me. I can easily navigate it. But I recently changed it because I was experimenting with things. But I do think I do prefer the taskbar on the right side of the screen. I think for me, it works out better.
When I was in high school, I used to have my taskbar on the side, but now I have it on the bottom. I'm the opposite.
What caused you to put it back at the bottom?
It was like a default on the new like PC I got, and I just kept it there because I thought it looked cleaner.
That's
Pretty
fair.
arbitrary. I didn't think there was any difference of like ease of use or anything.
I also think on the bottom, at least for like my monitor, I think all the icons look smaller compared to if I put it on the side. So I think that's another reason I prefer it on the side.
I like it when icons look smaller, but I feel like when it's at the bottom, I'm more likely to ignore it.
Yeah, it just looks wrong. I mean, everything, as this person said, everything looks weird when you're not used to it.
I think that because I had a Mac when I was in high school, and so I think it looked better on the side on a Mac just because I think just the way it looks, just the way it's structured. But I think for Windows, I prefer it on the bottom. That might be just like an operating system thing, though.
Interesting.
Mhm.
All right, and Phil, how do you feel? You're kind of the tiebreaker here.
I prefer it to be on the bottom just because I never move it. But there's actually a lot of people out there that didn't even know you can move it. Like I've done a lot of IT stuff, and like I want to say I'd say like half of the people that I've helped worked on their computer didn't even know you can move it, and like it, it's amazing to me that like that when you move it around, obviously it changes and stuff like that. And even though I personally prefer it on the bottom, I'll be like, hey, let me show you something real quick, and I'll move it just to see if they'll like it, and they'll be like, whoa, what the fuck, magic? And then they'll end up liking it better on the side than they will the bottom. So I mean, it's kind of funny. Like I feel like everyone should at least try moving it to the side to see if they like it, because it is some people like it, some don't, and I definitely think you should at least try it to see how you end up liking it.
Plus, like, I just moved mine for comparison's sake between the left side and the bottom side. And I don't know. I think when you have, I don't like having it on the top of like a browser, you have things there. And then you have something at the bottom as well. I don't want things on the bottom of both. And to Jack's point right now, Renter Jack, what about taskbar on the top? If I put the taskbar on top right now, on top of a browser, I think while the browser looks better, I think the taskbar looks the worst at the top.
I feel like that's too close to like the close buttons, and stuff like that. And I've accidentally closed tabs way too many times for me to put anything important up there.
Yeah, I can see that. All I know is this topic has made me remove it from the bottom again.
Congratulations on your new change.
I actually fixed it back to how it was.
Okay.
I really do like it back at the right side of the second monitor, although that did just break things, but it was worth it. It was a good change. It was for the better. Just for the best of everyone. So, I'm in the minority here on this lovely opinion. Very unfortunate. At least we've actually had a divide of opinions this week. Normally, it's a lot of we all agree that it's an unpopular opinion and move on. So I'd definitely say that's a pretty good trend so far. That top right can't really interfere with that close button area. Agreed 100%. Alright, so this next person, Stoic? Killing people is wrong, even in self-defense. Virtually everyone thinks that killing is usually wrong, unless it is self-defense, defending yourself from someone trying to kill you. But this is just a justification for all sorts of killing that is clearly not self-defense, including most wars. They call it the Department of Defense after all. People who aim to defend themselves and their families by carrying weapons often end up using weapons offensively in the heat of anger. You are most likely to be murdered by someone you know, for instance. Even in true self-defense situations, which there is usually an opportunity to use a non-lethal approach, such as causing temporary pain with pepper spray or a chokehold, etc. But even more than that, I think it is better to die a non-murderer than to live as someone who has taken a life. And this person has many edits. So their first edit, if someone insults you and you don't return the insult, are you not the better person? Why would it be different if someone tries to kill you, a very bad thing, and you remain committed to not kill them, only defending yourself with non-lethal means? If you die, don't you die courageously? Their second edit, I want to live. I would defend myself. Why isn't this clear from what I wrote? They don't know. But they do not hold the position I want to die, nor I would passively let someone kill me. I would kick them in the nuts. I would yell really loud to attract attention. I would try to de-escalate with words. I would run away very fast. It's precisely the black or white, if I'm attacked, I must shoot or kill idea that I am arguing against. And they have a third final edit. Some people don't like the insult example. Here's another one. Say you have cancer and chemo isn't helping. This is a new experimental therapy with a high success rate. All you have to do is kill several infants and drink their blood while selling your soul to Satan. Or, instead, there's a situation where you can only survive by slowly sawing off your penis, or similar appendage for non-penis havers, with a small pocket knife. Hell no, they'd rather die. That's how they feel about taking a life in order to survive. No doubt you disagree. That's why they're on this subreddit. But they are a murderer and deserves to die. They are an attempted murderer, and they're just against the death penalty, even for actual murderers, which they see as just another form of premeditated murder. This person, their edits pretty much sums up what happens in the comments, because the comments of this post was truly the... I didn't feel a strong way until I kept reading them reply to the comments. And I'm glad they summarized it up in the edits. That pretty much summarizes what happens in the comments. A lot of people fought back against this. And I don't know. How do you guys feel about this person?
I'm glad I got my beheading axe.
Yes. Don't worry. You don't have to try too hard.
There's a lot to unpack here, I feel, but...
There really is a lot to unpack. Their edits also added a lot each.
Yeah. Just to preface, I'm not encouraging or condoning murder in any way, shape, or form for any reason. However, I do think this is an unpopular opinion, and I don't necessarily agree with it. And I also, besides me not agreeing with it and not sharing that viewpoint, I just think that their arguments were kind of weak.
I think you gotta look at it from a couple ways. They're not saying, like, legally you're a bad person or that you should be shamed for doing it. They just feel for them they would rather die a non-murderer than live with having to kill someone. Even if it's in a self-defense situation. And here, my thing with this whole thing, if someone, pacifist, great word to describe this person, kinda. But, you know, I think you should do your best to defend yourself, and preferably, you shouldn't have to kill someone for it. But undeniably, there are examples. If someone barges into your home, they break in, they have a weapon. You're not prepared for this. This is not something that you're like, oh, if someone kicks down my door right now, I got an immediate plan within hands. Some people do. I'm sure, like, Info, if someone kicked down your door right now, I'm sure you have a plan for that.
I do. It's sitting right on my desk.
Immediately. Yeah, immediately. It's within reach of you. You'd handle that immediately.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah.
So.
But I don't know. I definitely think you shouldn't really look at it like you're a murderer in the same way that if someone just goes out somewhere random and decides to murder someone, I think defending yourself is okay.
I'm kind of interested to hear from the Jacks how killing someone doesn't make you a murderer. I feel like I'd want some more elaboration on that viewpoint from the chat. Or if you guys have something to add to that.
By definition, also, that is incorrect with the bot. That's good to know. Glad it didn't save. Nice. So, by definition of murder, whether you want to use it as a noun or a verb, is to kill someone unlawfully and with premeditation, or the unlawful premeditated killing of one human being by another. I feel like I also need to define premeditation for the sake of this discussion. What makes it premeditated? Because technically, if you shoot someone in self-defense, you did mean to shoot them. Does that count as premeditation in that scenario? Thought out or planned beforehand. I mean, I don't really think that that's your plan. Really?
I feel like premeditated definitely isn't like I'm intending to kill you like in this situation I've only just intended to kill you. I feel like it's planning beforehand.
Yeah.
And preparing. I think the preparation is a big part of it, like especially when you take those cases to court.
Yes.
Evidence of preparation has to be there for it to be premeditated.
So I feel like by definition, killing someone does not make you a murderer, by definition.
Right. Okay. I just feel like it's one of those situations where you can't really anticipate how you will act until you're actually in that type of situation. Because I feel like unless you're a child, I feel like an adult's instinct to survive takes precedence over whatever moral qualms you have with being a murderer or killing someone, you know? I feel like if it's literally a life or death situation, like that's not your frontal cortex thinking anymore. That's not your executive judgment. That's like your instincts.
Agreed. So, yeah. I mean, I don't think if you have to kill someone in self-defense, you should look at yourself as a murderer at all. I mean, if you did what you had to do. Part of the point seems to be an anti-gun issue that they have, so there's issues when people carry guns, which I don't think that what they said is specifically targeted to guns. I think that's something that you've concluded. They did not bring up weapons like that at all. You could argue, yes, guns is a very common way to self-defend yourself, so, you know, I think that's that, but I'm not 100% sure that they're really targeting firearms with their thing. I think, because for example, I mean, even if you, like, punch them. They could easily fall over, hit their head on something, and that could be it. They could die from you defending yourself. That scenario would also fall under what they're talking about here. So, I don't know. Just saying it was related, yeah. I mean, I can see where it's kind of related. I don't know. This person's an interesting... It was an interesting read for me. Because I can see where they're coming from. 100%. I see where their mind is. And I think if they live happier like this, good on them. Hopefully, ideally, nobody's put in this situation where you have to potentially kill someone to defend yourself. Ideally, that never happens, but we don't live in an idealistic world, so sometimes things happen that you just have to deal with through unfortunate means. So there's another one that kind of goes similar to it. Hopefully we can all be pacifists. Exactly. Like in an ideal world, we shouldn't have to hurt anyone. But you never know. So this next debate actually kind of goes with it, but it goes in a different direction. We're not talking about real life anymore. This person feels uncomfortable. Different person, by the way, not the same person, but they feel uncomfortable anytime they kill someone in a video game. Before they say anything, here's something important. People assume this for some reason. They do not believe video games cause violence. Apparently, this is a reaction they've gotten from telling other people this. Because people think my uncomfortability at killing in video games means I believe they cause violence. It just feels so strange. Killing in a video game, no matter the story. Killing Nazis, uncomfortable. Killing demons in Doom Eternal, uncomfortable. Killing good people when playing as a bad guy, uncomfortable. I know all of these characters and enemies are fake, but it feels like you're killing a bad guy who has a family at home. Their wife is at home and never sees their soldier or husband again. Imagine the devastation to the family. Or when I do a glory kill in Doom and stuff that orange thing into that man Kibis's mouth, choking on it as their life fades before their eyes. It's mostly just a problem with humanoid enemies. They don't have a problem with killing non-humanoid enemies like the Doom Hunter and Doom Eternal. Okay, so this person has no sympathy or empathy for non-humans. They're okay murdering. If aliens come, they have no problem when that day comes. But the illusion of playing a video game and thinking about video game characters' families. I think this is what they should think about. Consider the world you're in is made by a developer, and that developer did not give everyone a family. They don't exist. Think about most people that you're killing in a video game. There are obvious exceptions. Some games, heavy exceptions. But Doom, for example, they don't have a written family for these characters you're killing. Most of the time, so I don't really think that should be your thought process, because factually, from a development standpoint, they don't have families. So, I have never felt uncomfortable killing people in a video game. Personally, I am an asshole when playing a game. For example, LA Noire. I don't know if anyone's played that here, but I was the person that, you're an LA detective dude going up the ranks. Anytime they made me drive a vehicle, I ran over as many people as I could. I was a menace to LA. I was a complete terrible officer in this game, but I think that's the fun part of video games. You can do different things than you could do in real life. Obviously, I would never do that in real life, nor come anywhere close. But if you're playing a video game, I think you get to have more fun doing different things. Because for me, for example, I would not play a video game that's basically, oh, this game is made to be exactly what your life currently is. That's the game. You're just playing your own life in a virtual space. I like doing different things. I generally only kill the bad guys I'm supposed to kill. I don't just kill anyone I want. I guess I do a bit disconnect there. That's fair. I would say I'm an asshole in games. I have a philosophy: you talk shit, you get hit. That applies for any game. These random NPCs talk shit. If I can hit them, I'm hitting them.
I feel like I'm kind of the opposite when it comes to games, and I kind of align more with the unpopular opinion, which I didn't realize was unpopular, but I definitely, I feel like it's kind of an empathy response that's just like way too emotionally connected to fictional characters, where it's like I'm a big crier when it comes to like books and movies, and like I get way too emotionally invested in video game characters as well. And so like if like obviously it depends on what kind of game it is and what kind of situation it is, but like for example, Among Us is emotionally draining for me.
I mean, it's fair.
Yeah. And I don't really enjoy games that are just like based around senseless killing just like for the fun of it, you know, like Doom. I don't really vibe with it. I don't really vibe with like the whole aura of that. And I like don't really understand like why it's fun for people to just go through a video game just like killing things. Like it's not super substantial to me. But I do think it's just kind of like personal preference, and also just
For
like
sure.
how sensitive you are to fiction.
I think it makes me feel good when someone like Assassin's Creed. Don't know if you know Assassin's Creed well at all. The NPCs in that game, as you run around, if you jump in any game of Assassin's Creed I played, they judge you hard for no good reason. If you run around, they judge you. Talk shit, get hit. Simple.
Murder.
Hey, I don't always murder them. You can't murder everybody.
Yeah,
I think it's a limit of 3. I think you're morally allowed to kill 3 people in the Animus before it gets mad at you. But
it's on the time limit because you can kill so many, then wait a
yes.
bit and kill more. And
Yeah. You're allowed to murder people, just you gotta wait. You can't just go on a serial killer spree. But you can knock as many people out as you want.
personally, when I play games, the first thing I try to do is I try to shoot everybody to see how well it works. That is 100% the first thing I do. Is my first thing that I always do in any game is see who I can kill and who I can't kill. And then after I've figured that out, I play the rest of the game normally, and I kill as needed, and I don't as I don't.
I strongly dislike when certain games, Bethesda's guilty of this, they'll have the kids talk a ton of shit, but they give them immunity, so you can hit anyone else. But the kids, you can't touch the kids. Can't just kick them in the face or hit them with a sword. I hate that. I really despise that. So, Renter Jack says the hard split on this is the airport scene in Modern Warfare 2. Did you shoot anyone or not? I've never played. The only Call of Duty I've played is Black Ops on the Wii. I don't have experience in Modern Warfare.
Yeah, I don't even know the context of
Same.
the airport scene at all. Otherwise, I would weigh in.
And Phil, I'm sure you have experience here.
Oh yeah, favorite Call of Duty campaign. I'll let the lead fly. So the premise behind this is you're with a I'm not going to say they're a terrorist organization, but you're with the bad guys, and you're all suited up, and you got like big MG40s, I believe is what the gun was. So you got these big ass machine guns. You come out of the airport, and as you come out of the airport, you have an option to where you can hold down the trigger and mow down just like hundreds of this innocent civilians, and you can just unload mag after mag. You can mag dump into these people, so you can mass murder the whole airport. That was an option, or you could not. And most people who played Modern Warfare, did in fact when they got to that scene, because the game doesn't exactly tell you what's going on. It's more you spawn into a room with the other AI, and they're like, "Hey," he's like, "Here, suit up." You put the suit on and stuff like that, and it doesn't look like you're in an airport, and all of a sudden you walk out and with the other three, and then they're just they just they open fire, and then it's like hold down the trigger button or whatever, mouse button, trigger, whatever you're playing on, and it's like unload on these people and just kill them. Of course you don't have to, but most people, they seen the prompt popped up and they're like, well, fuck, all right, and they just start shooting. I was one such person. I let the lead fly, and it happened. The scene actually was considered so bad to the point where they actually went back and updated to the game at to a certain point to where when you got to that specific chapter or campaign level, you could skip it because of the brutality of it.
I mean, you are literally simulated playing as terrorists in an airport of innocent people.
Yes.
Literally.
This is like insane to me. This is like literally blowing my mind. Like, Jack, that's exactly what it is. It's a 6 psychological test by COD. This is blowing my mind. I like do not understand why most people end up shooting everyone in the airport. Like, I feel like if it were me in that situation, I would get so caught up thinking like about all the implications of this and like the I don't know, like the social commentary involved in the production of that whole thing as well, and just like, oh my god, so much. There's so much there.
If you was to play through the Call of Duty campaigns, it makes more sense as to why the scene happens because it fits in with the characters that you're with. Like it ties into it, and I mean, obviously, Call of Duty is not like it's not realistic to any degree. Well, I mean, it kind of is, but it isn't at the same time. But at the same time, like Call of Duty has always had that aspect to show like war is hell. People make their choices, like it's not good. And that scene ties into the rest of the campaign and the story because it plays in, and not just that campaign, but just in general with Call of Duty. So if you was to go through and you was to watch a playthrough or play it yourself, when you get to that part, it makes sense because of like what's going on and stuff like that. It does make sense based on the character you're playing, who you're with, and stuff like that. I'm also going to go on a limb and say a lot of people probably did it just because the prompt popped up and told you to. And a lot of times games are notoriously known for when quick time prompts pop up and you don't press the button, you fail and have to restart. So you see the thing pop up and you're like, well, shit, got to do it, or otherwise you'll, fail and have to go back to square one again. So I feel like a lot of people pressed it just because it told them to, so they didn't want to fail and have to redo it.
That's fair.
Yeah,
But
I feel like
go ahead.
I feel like it kind of reminds me of like the Milgram experiment, like that famous psychological study where like people were told to like deliver lethal shocks to another person, and like a majority of people did it. Like over 75% of participants like did it, thinking that like they actually killed another human being, but it was like a paid actor or whatever. There were no shocks involved. And I feel like this is kind of like the weird video game edition of that. And I don't know. I think you're right, Infu, about how a lot of it really heavily depends on the context of the series in and of itself, and the storyline and being ordered to do so. I just think it's super interesting.
They say good soldiers follow orders.
Yeah.
So
I think I'd argue the opposite actually. Critical thinking is key.
well, in that situation though, you was given your order and you're following it.
But if you put critical thinking and if you walked out and you're like, oh wait, where am I again? Oh, I think I'm on the wrong side, y'all. I'm a bounce.
You would think so, but again, that's just kind of like that boils down to like you have to play through the stories to understand like what's going on, because obviously your character already knew what kind of people these people was beforehand, because this isn't your first encounter with them. Each Call of Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3, they're not separate stories going through them. They're all three a continuation of each other. So by the time you get through Modern, and like this isn't at the start of MW2 either, so like you have to play through it for a bit. So like these characters are not by any means new to you, and so in that event, your character would know what kind of people these are and what he's getting himself into. So
that's fair. So Blah Blah Seagull said, why is there such a big push against skill-based matchmaking in video games? Am I missing some, or isn't it a good thing that you are matched with players your skill level? And I don't. The rest of their thing doesn't really matter. But I've seen a lot of people for and against skill-based matchmaking. It seems to be a big debate. I'm not too big into multiplayer stuff, nor am I a competitive multiplayer gamer. But how do you guys feel about skill-based matchmaking? I would think it'd be a good thing, not a bad thing.
I think it's a good thing, but I also don't really know what the argument is against skill-based matchmaking.
I absolutely hate skill-based matchmaking, and I think it should be taken out of every game that has ever had it in it, and it should not be used. I hate the stuff, especially for casual play. I think that there should be two playlists. If you're going to have a multiplayer game, you need two playlists. You need your competitive one that's skill-based, and then you need your casual one that's connection-based. Because a lot of times, skill-based matchmaking, fuck. What it does is it tries to prioritize other players of similar skill sets. I can't fucking talk to your own. And so, in the event that you're really, really good, like for instance, Destiny is one of those that I played enough of to where I've been on the receiving end of this fucking skill based matchmaking bullshit. You get up there, you're playing against the top players up there because me and my friends we slay out a lot, and so at one point we was up there in that top 1% bracket. When you get up there, you're going to be playing against the exact same people over and over and over again. And in the event that they're just that much better than you, you're never going to go any further. And it's just really going to make it not fun for you because, you know, they're just that much better. And I mean, you're just going to keep getting shit on every time. And it's going to make you not want to play the game. Second of all, it sacrifices connection to match up against these people. So, like, your connection might be fantastic, but if you're connecting to people from wherever and their internet's not as good, then you're going to take forever to even find a game. Like they would be nuts, or me and my buddies would be trying to play Destiny, and because of that higher skill bracket, we would end up having to wait anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes just to get into a match. That match maybe lasts like a couple minutes at most, just because they're either that much better than us or the connection drops. And then we'd get put back in the queue, another 5-10 minutes, and sometimes it would be up to an hour before we even got a decent game in to even play. And there's just a bunch of other issues because then you got people cheating at that higher skill brackets, DDoSing and stuff like that, and other things, and it just all around connection-based matchmaking. If you're a competitive player, is needed in a game. There needs to be competitive, which is skill based, and there needs to be casual, which is connection. There needs to be both in a game. And then you got games like Call of Duty that doesn't do that, and it causes problems because then it makes it really hard for some people to actually enjoy the game and play it.
So what, like, if you got rid of skill-based matchmaking, then like, how do you avoid new players or like really low-level players getting totally dumpstered in like a couple minutes by really high-level players? Like, it just seems like there's a huge disconnect in that sense to me, and it's not fun for lower-level players. But I feel like if you keep skill-based matchmaking, then it seems like, from what you're saying, it's not fun for high-level players.
No, it's not. And it's the reason why this divide exists in gaming, because you have the people at the top of the totem pole who can't enjoy the game because of where they're at. It takes so long to connect and find other people that you don't actually end up getting to play regardless. And then when you do get into a game, chances are the other people you're playing against, I know, again, Destiny is really bad for this. Um, a lot of the people at the top of Destiny's bracket is cheaters. And I can't tell you how many times where we've sit there for 5, 10, 15 minutes waiting to get into a game. And as soon as we load in, the people on the other team will just DDoS us and cut our internet off. And that's the end of it. And that's how they get up to those really high brackets, is they disconnect they DDoS the enemy team and get up into these brackets. And then you have to sit there for another however long waiting for another game to come around. And then you got people up there at the top, or whatever they call themselves, gatekeepers. You get up there and they're just so good that they can't be touched, and then they just pub stomp everyone, and it makes it super unenjoyable. And then in the same sense, you have the people at the bottom who are just getting the game. They're just now loading it up. They go into PvP. They're going to get stomped as well by these better players. And it's not fair for either side, but there's also no real big solution, because you can't have both in the same sense. you can't have a skill-based matchmake and connection-based. It can't really happen because you have to sacrifice one for the other, which is why I said there really needs to be like 2 playlists, one for competitive and one for like casual play.
I think options are good, and I think the argument of connectivity being an issue, I could see that. So I could see having a option for a different, like, I think skill-based matchmaking should still be a thing. I think that should be an option. Then one, like, if you're having connectivity issues with that, sure, give them another option. I don't see the big harm.
I just feel like it isn't really a good alternative to just get rid of skill-based matchmaking entirely and do it completely randomly, because it's not going to be fun if you have people from vastly different skill levels competing against each other. It's not going to be fun for anyone. Like, I know personally for me, like, if I totally stomp my enemy laner in a league match, it's not fun for me. I just feel bad, and it like wasn't a fun game because it ends super early, and then that person gets super upset, and I know it's crappy to feel that way when you get stomped. But like on the same like kind of in the same situation, like if I were the person getting stomped and I were against like a challenger, like God forbid like Tyler 1 or something tried to lane against me, I would like cry. It would be the worst ever. And so I don't think it really solves your issue of getting put like matched with the same people or matched with cheaters. I feel like that's inherently a separate issue that doesn't have anything to do with skill-based matchmaking.
I think that's why you have the options. You still keep skill-based matchmaking in one corner, and then you have the other options if you don't want to do that.
But would it be totally random? And I'm saying, like, is that the best alternative? Would that even be like useful?
I mean, yeah, to some degree. I mean, it's worked pretty well for games that have done it because not every game utilizes skill-based matchmaking in all their playlists. And I mean, those games inherently have success to them. Like, I know that Destiny, when it first come out, that's how it was. It only had skill-based matchmaking, and literally everybody in the community hated it to the point where they separated them. And so now you have separate for both of them. And Destiny PvP, while busted for different reasons, people haven't complained about the skill ceiling or anything like that since. It's not really been an issue having just the random matchmaking. I mean, usually you load into a game, you get snuffed out by better players. I mean, so be it. You know, they were just better than you. But like, you'll have games where like with connection, because of the connection having a wider range of players that it can pull from, sometimes you'll have even match games which are pretty decent. Sometimes you'll snuff, sometimes you'll get rubbed out, and it varies. And most people don't really generally complain about that. A lot of times the only time people generally are going to super complain about it is if they're so bad to the point where every game they get into, no matter who they go up against, they get absolutely destroyed. But I feel like at that point you should probably be like looking up stuff to help you get better in general if you're actually getting destroyed every game you play.
Yeah, I guess it might be ideal to have like both options available for players, but you definitely just can't get rid of like the matchmaking process in general for it to be like the best alternative. And I think there's definitely a way that they still do strategic matchmaking even if it's not skill based, and I think like we probably just don't know what that methodology is, but if it's working well in other games, then maybe it's something that could be adopted depending on like the game itself and its own like individual set of issues, because I'm sure like Destiny has a whole different set of player issues than like Overwatch does, for example, or like League.
They do. That's why I say I think most games have kind of, well, I don't know about most, but I know a lot of the games that I play that are PvP based, they've kind of like they're separate. I think Battlefield doesn't. I don't think Battlefield has one at all. It's just always random. I'm pretty sure. And I know Destiny separated theirs. Call of Duty has. They claim that they've always had a skill based matchmaking system in place, but I don't believe that in any shape or form. I just absolutely do not, because of the as much as I've played it, as many times as I've loaded into games and played against other people. There's no way that they've always been against around my same skill level. That's impossible. And I don't know about other shooters, but I know a lot of times the games that I have played, it's either been separated or it just doesn't have one at all.
In Destiny, if you have a good match, you can play another with the same people. If there's a stomp, you jump back into the matchmaking queue trying to run through the matchmaking again. It seems to work alright.
It does. It works very well. If it's an even rounded lobby, you will stay with those people until you physically back out. So if you get into a game and everybody in there is really good, and it doesn't matter the skill ceiling or anything like that. If everybody in there's doing good, it won't break it up. There is a rule set in Destiny where if you get so many points, so many kills too fast, then it does this thing called mercy, where you mercy the other team. And when you mercy another team, at the end of it, it's like, okay, that wasn't fair. We're going to break it up and we're going to throw you back into the queue and we're going to find you a different game. And it will keep doing that until it finds a game where like the people are even enough to that it doesn't need to break them up because no one side is completely destroying the other one. And it'll keep those guys together until, they back out and stuff like that. It works really well, actually.
Makes sense. I mean, if it works for Destiny, maybe it could work for other games, but who knows? Hard to say. It'd be a lot of experimenting you'd have to do to really figure out what works just right for most games. Because as it was said earlier, different games require different things. So
They do, that's for sure.
Our final debate topic of the debates are this person, what was her name? It was Linear Algebra 7. And they said they don't like seeing men cry. Obvious exceptions apply for extreme cases, for example, the death of a family member, and they also understand crying might be good for emotional well-being. They're not advocating what's in the title, just saying how they feel. And they then said, not just crying, but also men who tries to attract sympathy with sob stories. In general, mental health, men who doesn't seem to have strong control over their own feelings. I'm not British, but I very much like the stiff upper lip stereotype of British people. It may be due to my background. I spent significant part of my formative years in a military school. There we used to admire people who could go through some intense punishment and immediately laugh about it. And everyone detested people who tried to cry their way out of a corner. These are also the boys who demonstrated some other questionable characteristics like constant complaining to authority, lack of camaraderie, pretending to be sick, to avoid responsibilities, etc. Listen. And someone in the comments, I agree with them. In the same way that men should be allowed to cry, someone brought up, it's kind of like the gender equivalent of women getting angry and how some people have a problem with that. Women should be allowed to get angry. Men should be allowed to cry. We should all be allowed to express our emotions as long as it's not hurting other people. That goes for everybody.
Gender gatekeeping.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I get where this person's coming from. I wouldn't say they're a bad person at all. I just think people should be allowed to express their emotions as long as it's not harming other people.
Yeah, I think that, like, I don't know, you could kind of pick it apart saying, like, well, you shouldn't like it when anyone cries.
True.
And, like, it might be extra uncomfortable for you to see men cry because it's more unusual, or it's like, I don't know, maybe you just don't see it happen as much, but no one should be crying and you should be celebrating it, you know? It's not a good thing usually.
I think the time I cry the most is watching TV shows. I get emotionally connected to these characters, like, super quick. Like, you could show them for an episode. If you attach me good enough, their downfall makes me so sad. I get attached. So I'd say that's when, for me, it happens the most. But I mean, even in other scenarios, like, why is it a bad thing?
Yeah. I feel like I'm a big crier. I don't know.
Crying is a healthy emotion. You gotta let it out sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Good to celebrate people expressing themselves and not repressing things. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Repressing emotions, regardless of what that emotion is in most scenarios not good. Even if it's a negative emotion, if like for me, my father was a very angry person. I can feel anger inside of me at times. Repressing it is not the correct answer. Neither is letting it out and just getting angry at people or things. You gotta learn to deal with it and make it a positive.
Jack, I cry privately. Don't worry though. You're not missing out, I swear.
Don't worry, one day you'll play a game that'll make you cry on stream.
This is why I don't play Among Us on stream, because I'll cry. A public cry. I'll schedule one. Don't worry.
See, I feel like
Let's find a time that works.
when I play Among Us, I don't think I would ever cry at Among Us. I could see how it would happen, though. I think for me, the more common emotion I see is annoyance and anger. That's what I see most people experience with Among Us, and it's why, like, I don't know. Among Us, I can appreciate what the game is. I've enjoyed playing it, but if you're not playing with the right group, someone's gonna get mad at somebody. And it's just, I don't want to be around people being angry and fussing at each other. It's personally not the vibe I'm aiming for. How do you feel, Enfu? Do you think men should cry?
I mean, yeah, I think everyone should. I 100% think that everyone should express emotions. You know, I don't think anyone should like hold things back because it's not really healthy, I guess, to do that. But I mean,
Yeah.
I guess this is, I know that like a big thing about society standards is a lot of times guys are depicted as they're supposed to be, I guess, masculine and not cry, and I disagree with that as well. I think that's some bullshit.
Very fair. So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I feel like I can kind of understand the approach that this person is taking with like coping mechanisms of just like they personally don't feel like issues get resolved by crying and they don't personally feel better crying, and so like it might not be as helpful to see other people cry either, especially not if they like think it won't help. And I think that's a really common perspective in people who are big problem solvers. And it is a common coping mechanism. And if it works for some people, then it works. But that's like, that's a you thing, you know?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I think everyone, like in the chat right now, repressing anger. Yeah, I really feel like as someone that has repressed anger and I find it comes out, for me, the two biggest things that me trying to hide anger, the two areas I could not avoid it coming out in, even if I repressed it everywhere else, was children. They used to piss me off so much. And then games. They'd piss me off so much. These were the areas where it would leak out. And because it was repressed, it would just be worse. And that's actually been something I've been working on lately, because for me, as a gaming streamer, you don't need to be getting angry on stream. Some people has described it, and I would agree, as a temper tantrum. You know, I'm a 22-year-old. 22-year-olds should not be throwing temper tantrums. You gotta learn to deal with your anger in more productive ways.
A lot of outbursts on stream when the game gets hard.
When the game gets hard, you express emotions. The big thing for me is learning to laugh things off, ignore them sincerely, or there was one more, but it's lost in my brain, so we'll just skip that one. Go ahead, Info.
You know, Wes, no matter how upset you get at games, and this is for anyone, no matter how anyone gets like how upset they get at their games, they will never get as upset as my buddy did. One night we was playing Xbox, and all of a sudden I heard, "You fucking piece of shit," snapped his controller in half, slammed it through his Xbox, picked the Xbox up and sent it and his TV out his window.
He really yeeted it.
Yeah, he randomly just disconnected from the party, and he was gone about 30 minutes, and I'm like, maybe I should call and check on him. So I called, and he's like, "Man, I messed up," and I'm like, "You messed up?" And he's like, "Well, I messed up." And he's like, I fucked up big time. I'm like, what did you do? He's like, well, my Xbox and my TV's now outside my busted window. And I'm like, what the fuck did you do? He's like, well, you see, I've snapped my controller. I slammed it down inside my Xbox, picked the Xbox up and sent it through my TV and the TV with it out the window. And I was like, what the fuck? What the hell? Like, that was something I was not prepared for when I called him. I was like, well, he's like, yeah, he's like, it's like I got some explaining to do to my mom. I'll talk to you later. And I'm like, you have fun with that. I hope you don't die.
Man. To be fair, when I did YouTube before Twitch. When I was 18, I did throw a water bottle in anger. But that's as far as it's ever gone.
Yeah, I feel like there are healthy expressions of anger.
Yes.
In video games especially. The mouse slams, I've definitely done those. I definitely just like bang on my desk, but there are limits. There are healthy limits.
Yeah, there should be.
It's like with trash talking. You can trash talk all you want up until a point where it becomes too toxic. You gotta find that line.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when I get pissed playing a game, everything around what's happening in the game itself, I'll just tear it down when I get too angry. I'll just start tearing it down. That's not healthy. Don't do that. It's things you gotta work on as a person. We all have our things we gotta deal with as people to be better. It's all about working through them.
It's a great sentiment, I think.
I'm not the person that slammed. I don't throw things or do actions, though. I grew out of that at 18. I immediately knew with that, you can't do that. That's... Physical displays of anger generally is not going to lead you well in life, I think. So...
I got another buddy, whenever he gets mad, he'll like hit himself in the head or slam his like hand down on his leg or something like that. And it's like, dude, what the fuck you doing? You're gonna hurt yourself.
Well, that's the point. They're punishing themselves for being bad.
I mean, yeah, but when you hear pop, 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 when they're hitting themselves in the head or their leg, it's like, dude, chill. You're gonna fuck give yourself a concussion. Damn.
I know some people who do that, and it's like mainly because they'd rather like hit themselves than like break their equipment, you know?
I mean, yeah, I totally get why he does it, but still, yeah.
I feel like the expressing anger thing is something I've personally been growing into, because I think what you said earlier about how like the equivalent of guys not being able to cry is girls not being able to show anger, and I think it's something that like, especially as I got more and more into competitive gaming the past like maybe couple years, it's something that I've been learning a lot about. And I think like there's definitely a healthy balance and a healthy way to express it, but it's always good to be aware of your limits and your surroundings and your healthy coping mechanisms.
Yes. It's all about being aware, knowing that you have a potential problem, and dealing with that. And yes, Bellab, I did fix moderator's ability to accidentally join the voice chat. I did it right before I pressed the stream button, because I immediately thought of it. Like, keep in mind, I have 3 mods. Bellab, Fox, which have both been on the podcast chat today, and then Axel. All 3 of them, in separate incidents across multiple months, have accidentally joined the voice chat during the podcast, trying to watch the stream on Twitch. So, when literally every mod I have has accidentally done this, okay. Okay. I fixed it. It can't happen again. Alright. So, Among Us Beta October update patch notes. They added anonymous votes. You can now choose to make voting anonymous in order to hide everyone's votes. This way, nobody will know who voted for who during a meeting. Taskbar updates. You can now change when the taskbar shows up during a game. Always is the default setting, but you can now select meetings and never to have the taskbar only show up during meetings or to never have it visible at all. Colorblind support. The wires task has been made more accessible for colorblind players. Now each wire has a shape that corresponds to its color to help colorblind players complete this task more easily. And the big thing I've seen people react to with colorblind support is the obvious, where there's like a ton of colors for the actual crew people, and the most common way to identify people is not by name, because you can't always see name. It's by the color of that person. And if you're colorblind, you're really gonna struggle with that. And the big solution I've seen that I think they should implement is simply having it be readable when they're on screen what color they are via text. And you just have that be an optional thing for those people so they can actually play the game to its fullest. But, you know, small changes overall. Not really gonna make me play more or less of Among Us. I'll play it whenever I'm invited, but otherwise I'm not really gonna go out of my way to play it. When people name their characters a name, color name, yes.
I mean, Red's kind of sus though. Not gonna lie, I think he vented.
Listen. I seen Blue, though. Blue literally did it. That's why I called this meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm still saying Red's sus.
Okay, I'll vote red.
All right, good deal.
I'll trust you. But you gotta trust me next round.
Yeah, of course. If it's not Red, we'll vote that guy out.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan. See, teamwork makes the dream work. How do I feel about the Among Us patch notes?
I definitely think any updates that make the game more accessible are always good. I don't like anonymous voting. I think like the point of this game is to get the juiciest drama.
True.
And I think it kind of eliminates some of it.
You know, I think if I played Among Us with info, I can't tell how quick we'd either turn on each other or be a team. One of the two would happen.
Oh, the worst is when you think you're on the same side and then you get betrayed.
I'm the person that'll backstab you so quick. Don't worry, we're on the same team for now, but you won't know it when it changes. The anonymous voting is an option. It's not a mandatory feature. It's a new option they're adding.
Yeah, I guess you pick it when you start the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a fan. I think everyone should stand by their vote proudly, vocally, visibly.
That's fair. Renter Jack said that Jack Skeleton and them can start a group on Discord where there's no imposters and we just hang out and do tasks together. That's a plan.
We just beat the game.
Yes, just beat the game. I watch people play Among Us, and as someone that's also played it, so it's not just I watch the game and I make assumptions on how. I just can't. I don't care if you're running towards. The way I play imposter is I act like I'm a crewmate. Just because you think someone is doing tasks doesn't mean they're doing tasks. Seeing someone go to locations and staying there for a moment, that does not clear you to me. That does not make you not sus.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's the same way if it's two people following each other throughout a round and they clear each other. For a lot of people, that's a good, that not sus. But how do you know they're not both the imposters?
Right.
You can't trust that either. I am sus of everyone.
As you should be.
Exactly. You can't trust anybody.
I've actually, even though this isn't a surefire guaranteed victory strat, I've actually won the game three or four times now because of my name. Because, like, you know how you get to name your character? I named my character, it was me. So whenever people see me do something and they call the meeting, they try to report it and they're like, it was me. And so everyone's like, okay, self-report, and they'll just vote them off. And they'll get kicked. And I have won like 3 or 4 games where people will be like, yo, it was me. And they'll just be like, okay, and they'll vote them off.
Terrible person info.
It just keeps happening because they're like, okay, they're reporting themselves.
I cannot believe people fall for that.
I can't either, but it's beautiful.
See, I can't slip things by people. I'll be honest the whole time, and then I'll throw in sarcasm and be like, yes, I was the one that killed them 100%.
I'm like super quick to hop on a bandwagon. If someone accuses someone else, I will like make up claims just to like further vilify them. Like, I
I'm
don't
the
even know if it's true
opposite.
or not.
I feel like that's sus behavior. Like, if you're jumping on voting someone out, why are you so eager to get someone else out? I
mean,
never pitch anybody's name unless I see them do it.
it's not trying to be eager. I'll just be like, oh yeah, totally. I agree. Like, I saw them do this. And then they'll be like, no, I didn't. And then it'll make them look worse.
I still think the most scumbag thing that happened to me when I was playing Among Us was a fellow imposter snitching on me for no actual reason.
That's whack.
Like, okay, so I stabbed someone and the other imposter immediately see me. They clearly seen me do it. But that's not the point. We're a team here. Why are you snitching on me?
That's not okay.
And then everyone in the group tried to justify it as a very good play, and I'm like, listen, it made no sense. You can try and justify it. That's fine. I'm not actually mad at you. I'm mad about that play. That's a bad play to me. We are a team here. I could have helped you win faster. We still won the game, but we could have won the game quicker if I was...
Well, if you won, then clearly it was a good strategy.
You know? Can't argue with that. We still won. So, going from Among Us to another recently popular game, Genshin Impact, which apparently has over 17 million downloads on mobile and an estimated $50 million in revenue since launch. You know, listen, I brought this up so we can talk a bit more about Genshin Impact. I don't know if you've played it, Nat, but my personal standpoint is, especially after knowing they've made over $50 million already, I am never playing the game again until they fix my one simple issue. That's just an option. I want auto dialogue. It is a pain in the ass to play it without auto dialogue, and I refuse to play it if you do not add it. You've made $50 million already. Do it, you lazy fox. Please.
It's such a small thing.
It is, but it really bothers me. Like, 'cause I don't play it on stream. It's a casual thing. And, like, if you had to press a button for every 4 words I spoke, you would be annoyed. If the podcast was you had to keep pressing buttons to get more words out of me, that would not be fun. I feel the exact same way towards a game, where it's like every few words. You're not even completing a sentence before I have to press it again. You're mid-sentence. And it completely ruins the flow of the dialogue. It takes me out of it completely. And it's such as you said, it's such a small thing. You've made $50 million. Add this very small thing. Please.
It seems super small, and it seems like a very specific pet peeve because I've never thought about it before, auto dialogue, but I'm realizing now that I actually don't like auto dialogue. I like tapping through.
It's fair. I mean, there is a whole genre of RPGs that is just pressing for dialogue, and I get that. But most of the time, it's more dialogue than you're not even getting a whole sentence in. Generally in, like, a Final Fantasy or something like that, one of the older ones, you get in whole sentences, and it wraps it up at the end of a sentence, not mid-sentence, you gotta press again.
Mm-hmm.
And Genshin, it's mid-sentence, and that really bothers me. It takes it out completely. And out of stubbornness, I just won't press the button for like 20 minutes, and I'm just stuck there, because I refuse to press it.
Wow, that's wild to me. I feel like I'm the type of person that really likes to read all the dialogue, like, very thoroughly as well. And I feel like having you pause mid-sentence and then pressing again just adds to the pace they want. And so, like, I don't know. Obviously, I haven't played it, so I don't know how obnoxious it is, but I don't think I'd mind it, and it's not something I'd think about. I feel like I have way different issues with that game.
I actually like the game overall besides that. It's just the one thing that's very critical to me for some reason. And Phil, how do you feel about that they made over $50 million in revenue?
I'm glad. It means that they can keep updating the game, and I want that because I really enjoy the game. I've been playing it with I actually got a bunch of my friends to download and play it. So like we've got whole entire like teams of people that can like hop on and play it now, and it's a lot of fun. I've discovered that when you hit level 20, more stuff pops up. It does. I feel like a lot of that 50 million revenue comes from the fact they have like a battle pass in there, and I feel like the battle pass is not necessary at all. So I don't really know how I feel about that. But aside from that, um, game's really good. I'm curious about how long the story is because I'd say all in all, I probably put, I don't know, probably at this point, maybe 12, 15, 20 hours into it, maybe more. And I was going through the story, and obviously I wasn't doing only the story the whole time, but like I'd say I'd put like a good like 8 to 10 hours into it. And then like I got to what I thought was the end of the campaign. Like I thought I'd beat the story because of the it being like a mobile game and just I was expecting something short, sweet, to the point. I finished up that first mid. I'm like, okay, I'm done with the campaign now. And then all of a sudden I see where it's like, oh yeah, you finished the prologue, and I'm like, excuse me, what? What the fuck did you just say? So I don't know how long the story is, but from the looks of it, it's got a lot to go.
I know Axel, who, former guest on the podcast, says once he got to adventure rank 30, the game goes really dull.
I've heard that as well, but I don't know. I've heard that it like they change how things happen in there, but I don't know myself because I'm not actually 30 yet. I'm like 23, 24.
That's fair. I think I made it to like 8 before I stopped. Yeah. I'm not even at a point where there's dialogue, but the fact that they haven't fixed it, I'm not motivated to continue until it's fixed. So, an update to last week's topic. Because last week we talked about how Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red, said they wouldn't be mandatory crunch, then there was mandatory crunch, and then we discussed that. And, we had a debate about it. So, one of the lead technical designers was one of the developers who responded to some people that had talked about the crunch. And someone that said, meanwhile, the truth is so trivial that crunch is a complicated phenomenon, not black and white. I can't see a better example than the fact that I know people from CDPR who crunch. I mess up CD Projekt Red and all their game names for some reason. I don't understand why. They need to name things better, I think. And talk about the company that hedgehogs hair on their head, but also those who crunch longer, yet they are from work in it highly satisfied and not going to move from it. And the lead technical designer said, I can only confirm what this person wrote, even if it comes to the situation he describes. My experience shows that game devs have relative solidarity in this respect from top to bottom, regardless of the position taken. I must disappoint you, game developer managers are not the proverbial capitalist exploiters who count money while smoking a cigar, and from time to time glance at the oppressed developers. And then Studio Head addressed the topic to say, I wonder what makes funny in their statement. CD Projekt Red shares profit for a long time on time and with no excuses. Maybe it was laughter through tears. Seriously, I have the impression that some people prefer us to be bad, just have a foundation for their ideological narrative. They are playing some defense on doing crunch, and that's fine. If everyone is truly happy doing the crunch and it's not mentally or physically harming them, and they're happy with the money they're getting, sure. But I just feel like mentally, mandatory crunch is not a good thing. And you can keep defending it all day, but I just can't believe that mandatory crunch is good for a person.
I also have a hard time seeing how the final product won't suffer as a result of it either.
True. And I get, like, obviously, they already have to delay their game more than once, right? I think. So they don't want to keep doing it. Go ahead, Info.
Oh, I said I'm not sure how many times they've delayed it.
They don't want to have to keep doing it because it's a pain in the ass to do. But I would rather every game in existence never crunch and just delay the game.
Mm-hmm. I feel like also the excessive updates on a game like aren't really beneficial either. Like if you're not confident in the like really far off like due date you've set or release date, then like maybe you shouldn't advertise a release date. Kind of like how Nintendo didn't advertise a release date for Breath of the Wild 2. They were just like, we're early in development. This is where we are. This is how like many years are ahead of us. Basically, like we think it'll take another year or two. We'll keep you updated. And then like they don't really share anything unless it's substantial. You know, like I think the next update we got on it was like Hyrule Warriors coming out. And that was like that came out with enough confidence that they had a trailer to show
Yeah.
and a release date, you know. So it's like if you keep updating and you keep having to delay, then like I don't think that's going to be very beneficial to your workers because they'll have to crunch eventually to make up for that and the lack of foresight on your part. And then like your fan base is going to suffer for it too.
Because hasn't Cyberpunk 2077, for example, hasn't that been in the works since like 2014? If not like 2013? Like that's been a game that's been talked about being made. Like I'm pretty sure the first trailer was like 7 years ago.
Didn't they start the development cycle for the current gen consoles though, and then like part of the like halfway through development, the new ones was announced or something like that, and they had to go back and change the development process for it though to update it for the new ones? Wasn't that something that happened?
Probably. Sounds familiar. Sounds like a thing we've talked about.
Well, that's the thing too. When you take too long to like come out with a game that's that big, you know, you have to kind of anticipate time to get over these unforeseen hurdles, like a next gen gaming console, you know, that you want it to be compatible with.
Listen, I'm about to release the greatest game on the Wii. I know everyone still owns a Wii. I know that's still the big thing. Clearly. 2021, biggest Wii game release ever. Easy.
Yeah, like if their first trailer came out in like 2014, think of the biggest console in 2014 and like how irrelevant it is right now.
True. So, PlayStation Store. We have some PlayStation and Xbox news. So for PlayStation, their store is going to stop selling PS3, PSP, Vita games through the web and mobile. This includes PS3 games and add-ons, PSP games and add-ons, Vita games and add-ons, apps, themes, Avatar. Sony's also doing away with your wishlist feature, and any games currently on the wishlist will be removed. I think removing a wishlist is an odd thing, but I mean, obviously you'd remove things that's been removed from the store from a wishlist, but getting rid of the whole wishlist in general seems like an odd thing. But so they're clearing stuff out because eventually, like for example, Demon Souls. You don't want people accidentally purchasing it for the PS3 when they're trying to get it for the PS5. That's an obvious example of, oh, that's a mistake that could happen. Kind of like with an Xbox console. I feel so bad for kids getting the next generation of Xbox. It's like, hey mom, I want an Xbox, and it's called this, and then they go to the store and it's like, oh, we have the Series X or the Series S. Man, the S is much cheaper. I think I'm going to buy this cheaper one, or Xbox is doing a odd thing with that. But it's the same thing with the PlayStation store. You don't want things to override each other. So you just need to kind of clean it out sometimes. And I think that's kind of what they're basically doing here. Obviously, some things that are not overlapping are also being removed. So it's not completely that. But I think it helps to get rid of some of the old stuff that doesn't really matter as much now, to make room for the new stuff.
And consoles have like always been phased out in this type of way too. Like once they're outdated enough.
100%. I wonder if PlayStation's gonna do another handheld. Isn't the PSP and the Vita both dead now?
Yeah.
Are they gonna? I mean, the Nintendo Switch kind of took it over. I mean, Nintendo in general has always been the king of the handhelds. I don't think Microsoft has tried at all. If they have, I don't really know what they've tried. Sony has tried, and neither of them super caught on, but people generally, like, not completely tear them apart. I don't know if they're also going to stop trying or what. Who knows? I've not read anything about that, so...
Yeah, I mean, there's always room for improvement. Like, Nintendo also had, like, the Wii U, which was a weird handheld, but that flopping didn't stop them from making the Switch, you know?
I'm glad they did. I love the Switch.
Right? Same.
So this next topic, I can't say I know too much about it. The Xbox Series X machine learning auto HDR renders stunning results. And everything they showed, I don't understand it. What is HDR? And why does that make a big change? What is it?
HDR is high definition resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why is that something special to Xbox?
I think. I mean, I'd have to learn about like what the sole purpose of it is before I could really tell you. I haven't even actually heard that they have this. If I had to guess, maybe maybe it can identify like how the game looks and change your TV settings to match it to give you the best look for the game. Like it can change the color configuration on your TV so that way as you play the game it can identify what what coloration will be best and it can change your TV that way. Maybe I'm not really sure.
Cause I'm
I
looking
think
at the
that
pictures
is-
for this.
I think that is what they're aiming to do with it because it's auto HDR is what they're trying to introduce. So if your display is modern enough, I guess, or compatible enough, then it would adjust its settings continuously to give you the best viewing experience.
I wouldn't mind that.
Jack
Right?
Skellington posted, HDR delivers a higher contrast or larger color and brightness range than standard dynamics range, SDR, and it's more visually impactful than 4K. That said, 4K delivers a sharper, more defined image. Yeah. Higher resolution will give you a more sharp, defined thing, but you could improve on stuff like this. I guess that makes sense. I don't know. The pictures they use to describe it makes no sense to me. Like, I want to see on auto HDR versus SDR, I guess. And even in this video, it's basically the same thing as these pictures where I don't understand what they aim to educate people, but I don't feel educated on this at all.
I mean, it's probably not going to be a huge difference to the viewer experience or to the player experience. But I think from a business standpoint, it's more so that Microsoft is the only company that has incorporated this. And so it
Yeah.
gives the Xbox a huge edge business wise over like other consoles. But I really don't think it's something like to be too concerned about unless like you're a huge techie and like it's something you really care about. But yeah.
Yeah, I think by my not understanding this at all, I don't think I fall in that category.
It might also
Yeah.
go ahead.
I wasn't gonna add anything.
Oh, I was gonna say it might also be one of those things to where like you'll notice it if you look for it. Like if you just load up a game and you start playing, you probably wouldn't notice it. But like if you're purposely trying to like look for it every game to see the changes that it makes, I feel like it could probably make a difference that way as well.
Very fair. Very fair.
Mhm. It's also just setting a new standard for like the image quality in video games.
True. I'm all for higher quality and better looking games. It is similar to being an. How do you say that without it sounding like pedophile? Or is it literally just audiophile? How are you supposed to say that?
Probably audiophile.
So it's supposed to sound like a pedophile. Okay. That's always bothered me that it is literally audiophile. That's fair. And I'm to spend hundreds to thousands for headphones. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to fall in either of those rabbit holes to pay hundreds or thousands just to get that prestige experience, audio or video wise, I think.
I feel like it'll also make a bigger difference depending on the types of games you want to play. Like for example, I remember watching like nature documentaries in 4K is a totally different experience watching a nature documentary in just HD.
True.
But it's like if I were just watching a cartoon, it would not make a difference for me personally.
I would agree with that as well. You know. But hey, it's a good thing for Xbox to have. File just means drawn to, which is good for audio and bad for pedo. Okay, that's fair. That is fair. Every day is an education. File just means drawn to. This is something I want to keep in my memory so I know. I hope I retain that. But, I mean, hey, it's a good thing for Microsoft to do, so can't complain too much. And, speaking of Microsoft, GameStop announces a multi-year strategic partnership with Microsoft. Now, I don't know how you feel about GameStop, but here on the podcast, we really want to see GameStop continue to stand up in the same way we want to make sure the last Blockbuster is still alive. There's one final Blockbuster. One.
Where?
Oregon. It's in. If you go to Twitter and you type the last Blockbuster, you'll see their account. It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It's
fantastic.
In the same way that I don't want the spirit of Blockbuster to fully die, I do not want GameStop to die either. So, the partnership includes enterprise and commercial elements. Under this agreement, GameStop will standardize its back-end and in-store solutions on Dynamics 365, Microsoft's portfolio of cloud-based business applications, blah, blah, blah. You know, they're going to do a lot of different things with Microsoft. Them and Microsoft are going to do this big team-up. You know, GameStop has expanded its Xbox family of product offerings to include Xbox All Access, which provides an Xbox console and 24 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to players with no upfront cost. So, yeah. They're gonna make... I hope this is good news for GameStop. I want to see GameStop succeed. So I'm hoping that this partnership, although it's a lot of business things that mean nothing to most people, I'd assume. But, hey, if it's good business for them, I'm happy. Pretty much every GameStop topic this year has been, oh, hey, guess what? More stores have closed down. And that goes, like, even before the pandemic. They've been having stores closed down for a while now. So, hopefully this is the start of something good for them.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of potential in this collaboration, but it also might just be a delay to the inevitable.
True, but in the same way that there's one final Blockbuster, I have faith that GameStop can keep the spirit alive. I mean, honestly, if I'm a millionaire, I think I give money to keep the last Blockbuster alive. Just to keep the spirit of it alive.
It's charitable.
Yes. So our final topic of the show is one that I didn't know if it'd actually get on the show or not. I doubt the last Blockbuster is really a viable business. Hey, listen. It's not about being profitable. It's about keeping the spirit of it alive. So, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un became visibly emotional during a speech at a military parade over the weekend as he thanked troops for their sacrifices and apologized to citizens for failing to improve their lives. At a speech on Saturday during celebrations to mark the 75th anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party, Kim thanked thousands of gathered troops for responding to recent damage in storms and for helping to prevent a coronavirus outbreak in the country. In video footage edited and released by the state television station, Kim appeared tearful and at one point seemed to choke up. Kim said he was grateful that not a single North Korean had been infected with the virus, a claim that US and South Korean officials had previously cast doubts on. The impact of anti-coronavirus measures, international sanctions, and several typhoons, combined to prevent the government from following through on promises to improve citizens' lives, Kim said. My efforts and sincerity have not been sufficient enough to rid our people of the difficulties in their life, he said. Our people, however, have always believed and absolutely trusted me and supported my choice and determination, whatever it is. North Korea's economy, already severely restricted by international sanctions imposed over its nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs, took a further hit as the country shut down nearly all border traffic in an effort to prevent an outbreak. The United Nations has said that as much as 40% of the population faces food shortages. So, what was interesting to me, like, people found it notable that he choked up and apologized to people. And the reaction I seen was people want North Korea and Kim Jong-un to give up the nukes and then want to accept North Korea and with everyone else. That appears to be the majority vibe I got from it, and it's interesting to me. But I also agree with another thing I seen on this is if Kim gave up the nukes and started doing stuff like that to turn a different leaf, the chances that he gets overran and assassinated go way up. So, it's an odd thing for him. Do I think he's actually turning over a new leaf at all and is going to go on a good path? Not really. I would doubt it. He has had a health scare, though, so you never know what that could do to a person. But, I don't know. How do you guys feel about this? What is your vibe from all of this?
I mean, it's so hard to weigh in on North Korean issues when there's so much that we don't know about the current situation or the politics or even like, you know, how the country has been dealing with any hardships of the past year. So I think it certainly is telling that the UN statistic like reads that way of like almost a majority of citizens being in hardship and food insecurity and stuff like that. And so I don't know, it's super hard to judge. I feel like it's not necessarily indicative of their leaders showing compassion or empathy or anything like that. Like it could just as easily be, I don't know, like performative.
This is true. How do you feel, Phil?
I got a phone call. I'm sorry, one second.
Oh, it's all good. He sometimes gets phone calls during the podcast.
It's my mom. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
You're
all
fine.
good. Yeah, it's all good, man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I want the best for everyone in North Korea, obviously. I want everything to go their way, but your mom isn't watching? I know, right? Everyone's mom should be watching everyone's content, clearly. I feel like that just put way too much stress on a lot of streamers. If suddenly, like, their family, like, especially if people you live with, that's your family, if they were watching.
My younger brother, who's like cool and hip, you know, he watches my stream, but like no one else in my family knows about it, really.
How do you truly feel about him watching?
It's chill. He's a big gamer, you know.
He's hip
We've
with it.
Bonded over it, you know. That's what I'm saying. He's hip. He's cool. He's
Nice.
in.
I've had cousins and an uncle tune in. They did not stay, but they tuned in.
It's nice to feel supported, though.
Yeah. But when it comes to, like, anyone I'm living with, family-wise, at any point, I would not want them watching. I want a separation of stream life, and, like, if I go out in the kitchen and I start talking to people, I don't want that to be the discussion. I want that separation.
Yeah, I haven't lived with my family since I was, like, 17, so it's not something I've ever thought about.
Fair.
But yeah, I feel like my family would be accepting, but from a distance. They'd be like, "Okay, sounds good. Like, whatever, do your thing." But like, I don't know.
Yeah,
They
most of
definitely
my
won't.
family supports it. Yeah, it's not it. I don't even think that'd be my issue. I just don't want, like, oh, I did something on stream. Let's talk about it outside of stream in person. Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would really like want to be involved in my family either. They just kind of like are super hands off. They're just like, do your own thing. Don't involve me.
Very fair, very fair. Was that a candle behind you I seen?
Yeah, it's pumpkin flavored.
Ooh, nice. I don't have candles in my room because I'll just turn it on and leave it on for a while, but I have a scented wax thing that heats up and gives a smell. I love those. Things that scent up a room, those are good. Especially when you have a ton of options. My mom was Watch my stream at least twice. How did you feel about that, Jack Skellington? It'll be interesting. I don't know. I'm more open to family stuff. I used to not want anyone related with me to be friends on Facebook. That's how I felt, but then I eventually didn't want to be associated with anyone on Facebook, and I didn't want to touch Facebook at all, so I left Facebook completely.
I don't really go on Facebook anymore.
I've always been a Twitter person. But even then, it's not like I talk a lot on Twitter either.
Yeah, I feel like I'm mostly on Instagram, but I don't know. I feel like most of my family mainly only speaks Arabic, and I mainly only speak English because I've lived in the US for like
most of your life,
now.
or
No,
at
just
least
6
recent.
years. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like it's kind of separate in and of itself.
Nice. I just think separations are good. It was fun. I did a charity stream a couple times, and it was a fun event. Very nice. All right. Well, how did you feel about your time on Back in the Shed?
I'm 11 years old. It was so great to be here. I had a great time. And I really appreciate you having me on.
I think it was a good episode. I appreciated you coming on. I think I got everything I wanted out of it. And I still laugh. The last time I tuned into your stream, and it was, okay, we're good roasting Twitch, Amazon's Bezos. Good roasting Zuck, but can't roast Susan. I loved your reasoning for it, because it's so true. And it made me laugh.
I'm glad. Well, there's always a good roast happening on my stream, usually.
You
Thanks,
gotta
Jack.
tune in. A much better debate than the presidential debate. Hey. That can be the post show. It's like, oh, just interrupt everybody forever. Don't let them actually say any opinions. You gotta dodge every single topic.
Just scream.
Yes. Or, in my case, as the streamer, I could just turn your audio all the way down and just speak over you, regardless. That could be the dictator debate here, but nah. But yeah, I appreciate everybody that came along. Anybody that's not from Nat's stream, of course, you can go there and check her out. I think it was a good time. How'd you feel about this podcast, Info?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
For sure.
Yeah, it was great talking to you guys.
Yeah, I'm glad Actor Pat had gave us a recommendation.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah, good on Actor Pat. I really should follow that Nat person. I know, right? Like, I know all you guys. You gotta consider watching her once or twice. You never know. Non-creepily. Of course. It's always non-creepy. We don't allow the creeps here. We want everybody on the podcast except for the creeps. Not good.
Hey,
For that-
if the creeps come on, I have an axe for that. We can fix that
Ooh,
problem.
good point. We do have the axe. When in doubt, swing the axe. But with that, that will conclude Back in the Shed episode 90. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. I agree, Bill, that was sus. Just realized you forgot to follow All Good. I don't know when the next time I'm going to stream. I'm currently in the process of doing a new schedule, but there will be another podcast, same time, same place. Don't know who next week's guest is. That's not been resolved yet, but hey, you never know. Goodbye, everyone.